And now, so it doesn't depend on someone giving me a self-help talk. It depends on me doing the work. And that's so much what motivation is. It's like, listen to this now. There are men that I know that are being motivated by what we're saying, that no longer want to do just the status quo or live life like a hobo anymore, but to be able to dig in and do the work. And it's only going to happen by committing and setting that vision for your life. I can see that.
Did you know at one point in my life, it was when Dude Perfect was getting big, I, like, in my mind thought to build a platform around taking a jump shot on every basketball hoop in America. Like, you know those old, like, falling down ones on the side of a barn?
You think you would have made it?
That's like millions of hoops.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I just travel, and you just, when you see a hoop, you shoot on it.
One basket.
Oh, you got to make it. You know, you can't walk out on a miss.
You'd be there for days.
I know. I'm not saying it was a good idea. I was young, all right?
I'm not trying
I was like 12. Don't crush.
You'd be going 0 for 24.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, this dude's been shooting for 30 minutes on this one
You
rim.
hit 2 houses in like a month.
Yeah. Now that I'm thinking about it, it would have been pretty boring to watch too. I'd have had to actually like develop a jump shot that was worth watching.
People would have thought you had like a
you gotta
foundation you're trying to like raise money for.
Yeah.
Like, I got cancer.
Yeah. They're like, is this a Make-A-Wish guy? No, that's not actually that funny. Actually, it's kind of funny. It's funny.
It's a little messed up.
It's a little messed up. No, I actually.
Who's got the best jumper here?
Like, what do you mean, form or?
No, like who do you think shoots the best here?
Sam.
Got the best shooting percentage.
Sam's got the best percentage. If you're talking textbook jump shot, his shot's prettier than ours.
Yeah, your shot is definitely prettier than both of ours.
Yeah. You for sure playing the best basketball right now.
Thank you.
So you're actually probably playing the only basketball right now.
yeah. That's not even a compliment.
Showed up once.
It's like you're my favorite child. It's like you're my only child.
No,
Last time you played competitive basketball, go.
No, he came out the other day.
Did you really?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I did. I played all right. I mean, like, I'm out of shape. That's
I know,
problem.
but you didn't even text me.
That's the problem. Well, no, I was in the chat.
No, I know, but if you would have said you were going to be there, I would have.
In the chat, I said out loud, I'm going to make it this weekend. Damn. Yeah, it's a tough one. It's a tough one. I know.
You played well too. Well, I would say
doesn't
this.
surprise me.
You played you
better than I'm letting off.
I would say this, like some of the good guys that play, they're like, oh no, Braden, who doesn't like respect anyone.
Yeah, Braden's kind of easy. He's straight shooter.
He's got an edge.
He's got an edge, but he has no respect for anyone because he's really freaking good.
Because he's really good.
But he's like, Brad's a baller. That's what he said after that. That was the first time he played with you.
Yeah,
So.
I like hooping. I think
Nussbaum.
I'm learning in this season of my life that my biggest kryptonite is when I have fallen out of rhythm in something. It's really hard for me to pick it back up.
Yeah.
So like I don't know if it's like an embarrassment thing or if it's a pride thing or whatever. But it's really. I was just thinking about this today. I was watching an interview with like a chess grandmaster, and I used to play a lot of chess, and I love chess. But now I'm like, I don't even want to say that because I'll step up to the board and someone that's just played a little. Like I haven't played in like 10 years, you know. And so there's something about I don't know if re-picking up even makes sense, but there's something about picking up something that I've fallen out of form on that I'm not great at. And I
So
don't know
it's like you lack the motivation. Is that what you're kind of saying?
Oh, look at this! I
what
wasn't
you're
even
talking
thinking that actually, but that's a nice
interesting.
MC.
It's interesting.
Yeah, we can. You want to do it? Are we just gonna jump
I
in?
say we go for it, man.
All right. Well, if this is your first time
go for
watching Modern Man, we always
easy.
have awesome segues just like that. But no, we're taking redeem angles, rediscover angles. Like how do we redeem masculinity in its current form, and how do we rediscover the parts that have been lost? We're hitting a redeem angle today on motivation, and Sam's going to lead us in that. You got some thoughts on that, Sam?
I got some thoughts.
You got some thoughts?
Yeah. I think that motivation is one of those things that is, a space where there's a lot of people that you could label as influencers, or even people that are just, popular speakers. Like I think growing up, you see the Oprah Winfreys of the world, and you see, people that I've listened to before, like Andy Stanley. Who else have I listened to before? Father Mike Schmidt.
You got a lot of guys.
Yeah,
you got a lot of guys.
But then they just have podcasts and stuff. But like, there's inspirational people, right? Like specifically self-development. Like I think about a lot of the books that I've read, like 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, How to Win Friends and Influence Others. There's a lot of books and people out there that are trying to make a stage for inspiring and motivating people. And it's pretty easy because, to your point, Brad, I think you're not the only one, but I think we all have a habit sometimes of getting pumped about something, getting hyped about something, and then 2 days later falling out of love with whatever we were just jazzed about. So I've actually heard it said, and it's kind of cheesy, but it's legit, is inspiration is like a bath. You have to bathe in it every day in order to stay fresh in it. So it's like this idea that if you want to be inspired, inspiration doesn't just stick around for a minute. It's
you gotta
something
live
that,
it.
you got to live it. You got to be reminded of it. You have to live in that. And so there's one person in particular that I was introduced to recently that I've actually never heard about. I know you guys listened to him a little bit, Andrew Tate. And the reason he was super interesting to me was because he's really well followed, like and he's in the man's sphere. So
Most Googled man in the world, like
That's
last
right.
year, I think, or something.
Yep,
like that.
most Googled man in the world, has 10 million followers on X. I mean, he's got a pretty incredible resume. He's like a kickboxer. He's a
Like world champion kickboxing.
all these things. So, what do you guys know about him? What's your take on him? I'd love to hear what you think about Andrew Tate.
Can I ask you real quick? Yeah. So you were saying before we started recording, why did someone suggest Andrew Tate to you?
Yeah. So I think that there's something that he's doing to the heart of man that is intriguing. Like, I think people are hearing the things he's saying, whether they're on point or off point, or whether they're crass or whether they're real, and people are flocking to him. So I think there's whether people like him or not, there's something about him and the way he speaks and the way that he motivates that does draw a crowd. And so I think that's what I heard about it. But I think particularly he's reaching a similar demographic to who we're trying to reach. And I think that's intriguing to me, that why are so many men following the words of this man and his example, because I'm not sold on the first impression that I have of him, but would love to hear you guys take.
Why don't you take it first?
Yeah, I mean, well, this is why. So I've known about him for years at this point. Actually, this is hilarious. When I was doing some youth ministry out in San Diego, these kids kept talking about Hustlers University, and I was like, what the frick is Hustlers University? Turns out that was like one of the bigger things that got, and if I'm wrong on this, you tell me.
Fact check us.
Hustler University was like his one of his big claims to fame that people I think would pay for to
like a monthly
check
subscription.
This if this is true,
I think it was monthly subscription.
You get a monthly subscription, you get videos, and it's like constant motivation, constant teaching on how to become a hustler and become rich and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Please fact check me on that, because that was from a 12-year-old.
Out. I mean, from what I know.
But anyways, I heard about him first. This was like 3 years ago. Since then, I think what I've noticed is the reason men in particular really like him, and the reason people really hate him, is because he has taken one hard stand. So like, he has taken one hard stand and said, this is what masculinity is, and I'm going to prove it to you by the way I live. And for better or worse, he has become very successful, and he is living out what he's saying. Now, I don't think that with anything, there's some good, right? I think most of what he's portraying is bad. It's a stone cold heart. It's a man is better than woman, which is just false, right? Like, it's a completely extremist take on what a man should be. But there are some good things in the sense of like, he's definitely not letting society pull him down, right? Like, he is pushing through on what he believes. And I think it's radical in a negative way. I think it's not good. But he does like take a stand, and I can honor him for the 10% of the good, let's say, and there may be more, but 10% of the good, which is he's taking a stand and he's living out what he's saying. And that's something to be respected. So,
yeah, I think similarly, I would say, man, I think he's speaking something into a void. So I think he's presenting a prototype man. The issue is, I think it's the wrong prototype, but I do think that that's what he's doing. Is he's saying, here's prototypical masculinity, get on it or get lost type. And I think that's attractive whenever you don't have a prototype being built. So I think
it's calling out to men because they're looking for it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think that's why he's followed. My honest take on him, but you guys know this, like, and we've already recorded a few episodes where I take this line. I tend to just gravitate towards integrity when it comes to inspirational people. So like, I can appreciate someone that's super talented at a sport or something, even with character flaws or whatever. But when it comes to like, what do I think about him as an inspiration or motivation? I don't find a lot from him. And the reason I don't is simply because I don't think that he has the integrity of a guy that I would tell my son to admire.
No, for sure. Okay, well, so I do have a clip that I'm going to share, because after I heard about this guy, who again I've never heard about for being the most Googled person in the world, I typed in on podcasts Andrew Tate, and this is the most recent thing that came up, and I'll give you my impression after, but it's about motivation and particularly the pain of regret. So we'll listen to it and get some reactions.
On the future was correct. You still didn't bother to work and get money. You knew your money would amplify. Do you understand the cowardice and laziness which plagues your blood? If you understand that the money you make today, you can double it in a few short months, and you still don't try, there must be something clinically wrong with you people. So then I used to motivate you guys. I was like, well, let me motivate them instead. But no matter how hard I scream down the side of the mountain, climb, do this, put your foot there, don't do that, you'll slip and fall, climb, it's great up here, you can make it. You just don't seem to want to try. If there is a guaranteed chance to double all of the extra money you make, and you still don't try, what more can I say within the confines of human language that will motivate you? Perhaps God himself simply has a plan for certain people, and the plan for you was eternal regret and never-ending serfdom. Perhaps the plan for people like you was simply for you to perma-fail and lay as testament to how a life can be built on ignorance, laziness, and arrogance, so that people look at you as a warning sign of what not to be. Perhaps that's why you exist. Men like you exist as a warning sign to all other men. Do not end up like that, because I have been telling you for years. And now that Bitcoin's at $100,000, do you know what message I keep getting sent? Andrew, how do I make some money? I need Bitcoin. Andrew, can you motivate me? Why weren't you motivated when Bitcoin was 8,000? Why weren't you motivated when you stood a chance? Why weren't you motivated when I spoke before? Why must reality slap you in the face so brutally for you to wake up? You're the kind of kid who drives his car on the ice and slides all over the place and won't slow down. It's only when you hit a tree and lose a leg do you sit there like a pirate, a dumb pirate with a wooden leg. You sit there and go, I might slow down next time.
I don't know, dude.
I'm bored.
I think I think when I think motivation and inspiration, and I don't want to reduce him to that
To a
clip.
soundbite,
Yeah, because
sure.
I think it's easy to pick apart anyone's
Anybody,
life
yeah.
and be like, that dude's an idiot. But I will say this: things do reflect reality, right?
Mm-hmm,
So that reflects what he thinks about himself. Well, he's quite full of himself apparently, because he's the one on top of the mountain screaming down to everybody else, hey, get up here where it's glorious and where everything's good, because I have money and I have wealth and I have influence and I have women, presumably, or whatever. And it's like, okay, so that's his take. This is my reaction to this, and so maybe we can get some reactions here. But I just think that is not what real motivation is. Like, if you break down the word motivation, it comes from the Latin word to move. So maybe it's motivating for some people. Like I'm sure that some people, the motivation of their heart or the motivation of their life is inspired by, yeah, I want to make a ton of money. Yeah, I want to sleep with a lot of girls. Yeah, I want to have influence. So maybe that is motivating to some people. But I think to the vast majority of people's standards, that's not actually motivating, right? Like I think that we end up I think that motivates people to self interest and like self gratification, if you will. Whereas I think we're not made for that. So
yeah, I
those
think
are my initial thoughts.
I think we have to ask the question, like, what are we moving people towards as well? Like, because just by the nature of things, if you move something and it comes up against the next thing, it's going to stop. Like you have to move it in a direction where it has a path forward, you know? And I was at a retreat recently where I was speaking to a group of men, and I was just like encouraged by the response to the angle I took for this talk. And I just looked at this group of college men and I was like, I just want to be really honest with you guys. Like when I was in college, and what I believe to probably be true for the majority of you in this room, is that you're convinced that if you have a hot wife, a high paying job, and as much time for your hobbies as humanly possible, that's a fulfilling life. Like that's a lie. That's a lie. And if you pursue that for decades, you will be miserable. And it's been proven time and time again, like you're going to hit the end of that. Like that's not a path forward. You might right now think because you don't have those things that you would in fact be fulfilled if you did. But ask anyone who does have those things if they're fulfilled and they'll say no.
Yeah.
So it's like, what are we moving people towards? That's the issue I even have listening to that is it's like we're moving people towards a mountaintop. But okay, let's say that Andrew, let's give the benefit of the doubt. Let's say he is on the mountaintop of something. Like what has he achieved? Okay, so he could fight better than a lot of men. Okay, so he has more money than a lot of men. He has more mistresses than a lot of men. Okay, he has more fast cars than a lot of men. Okay, is that but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like
no,
if that's the
yeah.
definition of the mountain that I need to climb, I want to climb a different mountain. Like I'm more interested in like if we can use the analogies, like I'm more interested in like diving to the bottom of the ocean and getting into the depths of things than I am to going to the top of whatever mountain that is. Like I'm down for getting to the base of something and actually allowing it to be built on top of me rather than getting to the summit of something and looking at all the peasants below.
Right.
And so I think that's my initial response to listening to that is like you said, like it comes from the Latin meaning to move unto what? You know, like what are we moving people towards? And don't just be moved by every little whim and wind, but like understand what you want to move towards and then allow yourself to be motivated in that direction.
That's awesome. No.
Well, yeah, I think too. There's a lot of things here. So one I do want to say this. What was he indicted? Was he indicted for?
Yeah.
Sex
trafficking.
Sex
Rape
trafficking.
and all that stuff.
Yeah. So
Now, how much of that again? Like it's all alleged, so it's allegations,
Totally.
but like.
Florida doesn't want to let him in.
Yeah,
all those things.
but again, like he was at least in a situation where those sorts of things are actually plausible.
Yeah.
Does that make
Yeah.
sense? So I'm not
Yeah.
saying it happened, but at
Yeah,
least where
sure.
allegations
Sure.
can stand.
Yeah, I think for these guys, the one thing that I got out of that video was one, there was a lot of like video of Anakin, which made me pretty
In the
happy.
back, yeah.
And as well as
People were talented to do that stuff.
Yeah,
then,
Bruce Wayne was
to
in that
do
a couple
that
times
stuff.
from Batman
Yeah.
Begins. But guys that talk like that, there's not a. So I think there's two things I'm seeing. So the reason that guys like that are wildly successful in captivating hearts is because we have a bunch of kids, a bunch of young men who have no direction. Like the amount of guys I talk to who have now almost framed their life in like a, like the way they dress is what he told them to do.
Yeah.
Like the way that they even perceive like their own faith, their own everything in their life comes through this lens of like what he's saying. Because again, there's no guiding light that's leading. There's no model. There's no guiding light that these men are finding. And so they're taking the guy that's saying the most radical thing, and because he can back it up with the way he lives, they're following him. And so I think that's just important to state. We kind of stated it earlier, but I wanted to state that. The second thing is this, that what that produces and what I've seen it produce is a lot of hollow shells of men. Like there's a shell of a man. Like I've talked to so many men who they're wearing the outfit, they're going to the gym, they're seeking the money. I heard it said by a guy recently that the three things that we seek in life, no matter who you are, is wealth, influence, and youth. Wealth, influence, and youth. And I thought that was fascinating. And so these men are doing that. They're seeking youth by making sure their body is in great shape, right? Which isn't a bad thing. They're seeking influence by also making sure they're in shape, but also networking, right? And everyone needs a network. They're seeking wealth by doing all these different things and turning away from a lot of different things so that they can seek the wealth that they desire. All good things. But when you just look to a guy on a screen and you try to live a life after him, I've seen a lot of men just be shells of themselves because they never figured out what it was going to take to be a whole individual from the inside. They simply said, what do I do from the outside that makes it? Because that's what I see with Andrew Tate, is he's a shell of a man, right? He's trying to prove something to the world, and he's proven it to the world,
Like, yeah,
and
here's
nothing's
how smart I am, how strong I am, all these.
and look at what we've seen. And so I wanted to lay those two things out as just kind of a basis because
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
I like the two things. I'm
Yeah.
just trying to go into the last thing because you were repeating which aren't bad things, they're good
Yeah.
things. Do you think it's probably fair to say they're good things insofar as they don't have us abdicate greater responsibility? I think it's a problem to actually pursue wealth when the most important things in my life are my family, my brothers alongside me, and the community that I'm responsible for. And the moment that the pursuit of wealth makes any of that inferior to where it actually stands, I think I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's I don't know if that's fair to say, but
yeah.
because maybe you could argue that that's benefiting them, but I still think that that's
Yeah. So the point I was getting at is this, that the most motivated individuals I know, I can point to a direction, a man, particularly for men, a man in their life who was older than them, who never had to talk about it. Like the men that I know in my life that just wake up every day and get after it. It's like a lot of these guys are like from a farm, and their dads just never had to talk about it. Their dads were up at 5 a.m. They would do what they needed to do. They would go work on the farm all day. They would come home, eat dinner with their family, make sure their next day was set up and ready to go, pray with their wife, go to bed, pray with the family, go to bed, right? And they just did it day in and day out. And so it wasn't even it was so motivating to their sons that the words were never even they never had to be said. And so like a guy yelling from the mountaintop, I'm like, you're yelling. You're yelling because you're proving something. But the men that I've seen, they had a older individual in their life who simply lived it. That's what happened. And so I've talked about it on the podcast before. Like, it's sometimes like when if you walk into a room and your wife's actually hot, you saying your wife hot just makes everyone else uncomfortable because it's obvious, right? You don't have to say it when it's true. And I think that's the point I'm trying to make is true motivation comes from leaders in our lives who are living such a true life that they wouldn't even have to say it, and we want to follow them anyways.
Yeah, which I think points to the fact that, and I'm not trying to isolate him and pick on this guy, but
no, sure.
It's like the blind leading the blind. Like he's, I don't know what his relationship with, I mean, he's not married, doesn't have kids. I don't know what his relationship with his father's like, but it reminds me a lot of people that I see on the internet that are trying to scam people into buying a program from them or whatever. And it's like, you're just someone who's in searching for validation of your own identity anyway. Like you need these people to feel like they need you in order that you can contribute to their life. And that's not what a man does. A man doesn't do things in order that other people feel dependent on him. He's just gift. Like he's, to your point, it's like, if you asked your grandfather, why did he do that and why did he live that sort of life? He's not going to be like, well, because I needed my children to feel like they owed me something. Or it's like, this is just what my life was. This is why I'm here. It's like, I didn't even think twice about it. This is what I do.
Yeah, contribution is what I'm made for.
It's contribution is what we were made for. That's a great point. I think there's two things here that I want to dial in with the time we have. And that is that all of us, there's two sides of motivation. We, in our lives, what you were just sharing, we have to be an inspiration to others. Like this is part of a man's life, is to reflect the life he has in order to transform, right? So whether it's your wife or your children or the people in your community, or whether you're single right now, like whatever your sphere of influence is, God and destiny want to do something in you to be able to transform those around you, right? There's a reflection that is a motivating factor by people who just see your life as different. I'll never forget when I was in college, there was a guy, like I wasn't someone who was like standing in the street corner being like, hey, I believe in Jesus. It was just the way that I conducted my life. And I was in a Spanish class, and quite frankly, I sucked at Spanish. And there was a guy on the football team who was decent at Spanish. So I asked him to tutor me. And we're sitting down, and we're talking one day, and he's like, dude, you are like, why are you so happy?
Yeah.
And I was just like, I'm just happy to be able to testify to me of like what Jesus had done in my life. And so I was able to share that, but it's a little moment for me to be able to look back on and like, I wasn't sitting there saying, hey, dude, look at how joyful I am. I'm so joyful. Don't you want to be joyful like me? No, it's just I lived it. You lived it. And so it's like those type of things that we just commit to, we follow through on, and we're consistent with is what becomes the inspiration for others. Yeah. Like, I mean, I just think about time and time again, the things that I do, I know are impressing upon my children. So why do I say that? It's first and foremost, motivation has to be for the sake of others, but there also has to be the self-starter side of it. So you motivate other people, but you also have to be self-motivated, right? You have to have a vision for your life. In the book of Proverbs, it says that without a vision, the people perish. You have to have a vision for your life. You have to be able to say, this is where I want to go. And so much that's informed by three things. It's informed by your past, right? So your past can motivate you. Hey, we've talked about this before in the whole like side of mental health and woundedness, what we've shared. It's like, okay, so my past can motivate me. My past hurts can motivate me to be better. My present circumstances can motivate me. Hey, I don't have money's not bad, but I don't have enough money right now. Okay, well, I'm going to use that to motivate me. Yeah. I'm feeling the pinch in my my gut right now, like my pants don't feel like they used to. Okay, great. We'll let that be a motivating factor in the present moment. And then the future can also motivate you. What could be that is not. And so I think we have to really be able to look at motivation from a sense of self-contribution to others around us, but then also leading ourselves in a way where
Totally.
we see transformation
Yeah,
happen.
well, that's the only way you can make that contribution is if you become what you were made to be.
Yep.
And that does have to take into account the past, the present, and the future. I would say that back to your 2 points, Noah, I'm trying to like wrap my mind around why are people gravitating towards Andrew Tate. And I think what you were saying is probably a fair assessment, right? The first thing is that he's laying out a worldview that he actually follows. So even if it's the wrong worldview, he's saying it and he's being sincere to the worldview he's presenting. Yep. So there's a hint of authenticity in it that people feel that they're looking for. The second is that wealth, influence, and youth, they're not bad things, but insofar as we're pursuing them to give our lives away. Like the reason that I want any of the wealth I ever accumulate is so I can give it all away, namely to my family and community, and then out the concentric circles that then kind of like move out, because that's how impact moves. Is it's deep in one spot, which allows it to ripple out. Like the only reason I want influence is because I want to be able to allow the values of my community to spread out, like from my like relationship with my wife to my kids to you guys and out. And then the same thing with youth. The reason I want to stay young is because just recently I was walking with my little 14-month-old daughter Eliza, and like I'm bending over and I'm like, my back is tight, like just because we've been walking for like 30 minutes and I'm hunched over, and I'm like, that can't happen because I never want to not do this. I always want to be able to do this for as long as God will give me. And I want to put in my effort to that. Kind of to your point, it's like a present moment and future. It's like I'm looking at it. So again, I think what's happening is he's presenting authenticity and then things that are good to pursue, but not in and of themselves, as long as those things are unto the right end. So an authenticity to a real prototype, which to me is not self-attainment, but self-gift. And then so authenticity to a real prototype and the pursuit of those three things unto an altruistic end or an impactful end or a contributive end are great. I think what's happening is he's making himself the end of his three pursuits, and the prototype that he's building is on self-attainment, not self-sacrifice. That's the reason that I think the motivation's wrong. Is I think anytime we get the end wrong, like, no, I won't check that. I'll say it and then we can argue it. But I think anytime we get the end wrong, the means almost by definition aren't going to get us there, because you got to look and say this is what's really, really what I'm made for. And so anything I pursue here, I want it to get me there, not this other direction.
Yeah, I think that's mostly true. It's going to definitely be a lot harder if you get the goal wrong. I think because you can get the goal wrong. I mean, there's been a million things in my life that I've gotten the goal wrong on, but the means prepared me for it without me even knowing. But did I have to end up surrendering a lot of those things in order to get to the goal that was actually
fair enough
where I wanted to go? So back to the goal though. So when we're talking about motivation, I think that's another thing that I'm seeing here is you got to get your goal right, but who's going to tell you your goal? And that's a question that I think has to be answered, because you have to, because that's the other problem with this is you saying the blind leading the blind stuck out to me a lot, because we are all the blind leading the blind. Like I go back to this activity that we used to do when we were doing a lot of youth ministry, and we would do this activity we would have small groups of guys, and we would take them from we have a big property. We would take them from our lake on one side of the property and take them probably a quarter of a mile down, and it was hilly, and we would take them all the way up to our lodge. And again, there was a lot of hills, there's a lot of gravel, it was wet, it was grimy, but we would all give them a card, and that card stood for a disability that they would have to act out. So one, like if they got a card that it was an ace of hearts, they'd lose their arms. There's so many memories coming back right now.
Yeah, some of those fat kids, dude. I'm serious. They always lost their damn legs.
I know.
It's like, dang.
Me.
So
It's like,
you
how
get
am
a
I supposed to carry
spade.
that 300-pound
Yeah,
kid?
you get a spade, then you don't have legs, and the person has to carry you. You get a club, and everyone's having memories right now. But you get a club, you go blind, right? You can't see. So, anyways, the reason I bring that up is because everyone had a problem, right? But as a group, you would work together to achieve the goal. And I think one of the scariest things about this video is there's no admittance of blindness, because the blind leading the blind is all of us, right? We're all blind. We're all blind in some area of our life, which is why we need each other to get to a goal. When you hear people who are screaming down at you, they're still the blind leading the blind, but they don't know they're blind.
Right.
And that's a serious problem. So we as men have to ask the question, who is going to what is going to be our goal, and who's going to tell us that goal? And I think that's for us as Christians, it's in our faith background. I would say my life got a lot easier when I finally believed God was real, because then I had a light.
You had a prototype.
A guiding light.
You had
to
a
go
real
towards.
perfect thing.
Exactly. Like, this is a man that's worth following.
Yes.
And whether you're Christian or not, you can look to somebody like Jesus Christ and say, there's something about that guy. He had all
Never
the power.
complained, endured his life, laid his life down for those that
had
cared
all
about
the
him.
power, had all the youth, had all the wealth he could have ever had.
Loved his life, gave it away.
And he gave all of it away. And that's whatever you believe. We know that man existed. We have more proof that he existed than
Any person
Caesar
from 2,000
Augustus,
years ago,
than
yeah.
Alexander the Great. And we know he did something awesome. So for us Christians, it becomes pretty easy for us, because we can all admit there's something wrong with us.
As long as we're not nominal. Once we
As long
really
as-
believe it, right?
Yeah,
'Cause
exactly.
It can be hard for us
Yeah, you
when
have
we're
to
just living the like.
You have to subscribe to a way of life.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
something to that.
Yeah, Christianity is a man that we follow, not like just a set of
Yeah.
things that we memorize. And gosh, if we get
So
that
that's a good
wrong-
goal, right? So that's so for us, but whoever you are listening to this, you have to ask yourself the question: what's the goal worth? Because for men who listen to Andrew Tate, they're not wrong. There's something in their heart that they're looking for, right? There's something that they're realizing something's missing in their life, and they want to achieve something great. And so for dudes who listen to him, like, you're freaking awesome for doing that, because it shows that you want something in your life.
Yeah.
It shows that you genuinely want something that is greater than yourself, and so you're altruistic in some way, and you're truly seeking something. So that's good. Let's try to find a guiding light and a true motivation that allows you to admit that you kind of suck, because we all do, and then allows you to get people around you that are going to help you get to that goal, and then you also need to name that goal, if that makes sense. I think that's true motivation, right?
Yeah.
That's authentic motivation.
Yeah, and to have it constantly in front of you. Like, I think just to be like, let's just get real here for a sec, of like, how is this practically impacting my life? Okay, so I think this January I was like pretty fed up with the typical like New Year's resolution thing, right? So it's like, okay, I'm gonna do this, and then it's like, what is it, by like week 3? It's like mid to late
Isn't that insane?
January. It's
Yeah.
Quitter's Day, isn't that a thing where it's like
There's some absurd percentage that are done.
People
by
don't
that.
make it past that. I was not fixated on doing things in a checklist mentality of this has to happen every day or I fail. I wanted to build a habitual ways of thinking and habitual actions throughout a course of a year that fall into those things we've talked about before, like arenas, right? So I identified what are the different weak points in my life that I need to shore up, or the things that I need to have a guiding light. Because again, the truth is, just like any sort of consolation in life, it doesn't last, right? I think it was General Lee who said that all glory is fleeting. Like, you could obtain anything and it's all going to fall away at some point, right? So all those things of influence, wealth, and youth, it's all going to go away at some point. Like, even the most fit person, like The Rock Johnson, is going to be using a walker one day, or in a wheelchair, or on air respiratory therapy stuff. I don't know. I don't know.
Their body's gonna fail them.
Yeah, whatever it is. So anyway, I picked up my journal and I wrote down what are those arenas. So I wrote down one for wealth, and I wrote down one for my health, and I wrote down one for my self-image, and I wrote down one for how do I want to parent and be a better father. And so every morning after I spend time in prayer, so I get up in the morning, I spend time in prayer and meditation, and I pull out this journal. And I don't write in it every day. I just look at it and I read those things to myself. I say, I'm a man of patience that overflows with love for my children. I speak the dream to myself. I say, literally, this is what I say, is by December 31st of 2025, I will add $15,000 to my annual income with my family, so that will go toward a future dream home, vacations, and be the first installment of greater wealth in my family life. And then I say to myself, what are those goals I'm going to do? They're like we talk about rocks and milestones a lot. These are the things that I'm going to do. These are on track or off track throughout the course of this year.
Totally.
I'm going to reach out to this person about this opportunity. I'm going to talk to this person about getting a mentor in my life. I'm going to do these things. And now, so it doesn't depend on someone giving me a self-help talk. It depends on me doing the work. And that's so much what motivation is. It's like, listen to this now. There are men that I know that are being motivated by what we're saying, that no longer want to do just the status quo or live life like a hobo anymore, but to be able to dig in and do the work. And it's only going to happen by committing and setting that vision for your life.
Yeah, totally. And I would also say, like, if you're a person who struggles at setting visions and not following it, one of the things Jordan Peterson says, I brought it up on the podcast before, but set the bar sufficiently low that some idiot like you would actually do it tomorrow, because stacking wins actually gets you to there by month 12. Like if tomorrow I'm 1% better, like we say that all the time and it's so cliched, but like if you've failed to wake up to your alarm for the last 2 years and you've been like, I'm going to wake up at 5:10 every morning. It's like, set your alarm tomorrow at 5:45 and get up. And because what that does is it puts you in the driver's seat. Like, this is a big reason that, like, in my life, my wife Nina and I, we've just committed to making our bed. And like, we'll get home from work sometimes because we rushed out the door and Eliza got up earlier than we thought. And it's like, we'll get home from work and it's like, we're not going to bed until we make it, because it's just like, that happened. Yeah. And like, I think that what we can do is we can get overly motivated and try to conquer the world tomorrow. But like, you can conquer the world in a lifetime. Tomorrow, get closer to the person that can overcome the world.
Yes.
It's attention, though. So I agree with you, Brad, but I also disagree, because it's like,
tell me.
I think it's a cop-out in a way to be like, and I'm not picking on you. So
No, do it.
But for me to say, all I have to do is make my bed tomorrow and I was a success, I think that's flawed. I do.
Yeah,
I think it's flawed to say, I only need to do one thing tomorrow that is attainable and I did a good job. I think it's flawed.
Yeah.
I think
if you set that and do it, is it better than setting a big vision you don't do?
I think that if you set a big vision, it's more probable that you will, even if I got 3 out of 20 things done, at least I did 2 more than 1. Does that make sense? So I think it comes from this perspective of, unless I do all or nothing, it's a failure.
Yep.
Right? And whereas
Unless
I
I do
think it's
all or
not
nothing,
about
it's a
dreaming,
failure.
it's not about the attainment of the dream. It's about who you become in the process. So you setting a vision for your
agree with
life
that.
and
Yeah.
you dreaming for your life, it's not about you attaining that dream one day. So, I mean, people, one of our cameramen was with me the other night looking at my vision board in my basement, and he goes, "Why do you have a shirtless man that's got a 6-pack on here?" I was like, it's a very, no, this is the first time you're seeing this. It's kind of weird. Is it because I need to look exactly like that man? No, it's because that's the dream that I'm chasing. And it informs the type of decisions I make. Do I live by that all the time? No, I'm drinking a beer right now. And this is like, is this good for me? No.
Yeah,
is this in line with the habits I want to cultivate? No, but I'm enjoying it right now.
No, I get it.
Well,
I wonder what you think.
I would say,
I have some thoughts.
and I'm not trying to do this for the sake of bringing us all together, but
Unite.
I will say it is truthfully both, because we know men who, oh man, and one thing this video got right is anti-heroes are sometimes helpful. So like, we know the men.
Yeah.
There are men in my life who I strive not to be, because they were the biggest dreamers in the world and couldn't put food on the table for their family, and now their wives are doing freaking everything and carrying their family with a burden they should
I will have 365 days of working out tomorrow. It's like, wait, you haven't done it for...
But we also know a lot of guys who are like, I'm just doing today, and they do today really well, and it's awesome, and they never really... It's uninspiring. They never really did anything in their life other than kind of do what was in front of them, and they never took the reins and reigned over the kingdom that they're called to create. And so I think it's both. And I think you do it, and you kind of said it too. You set a big vision for your life, and then you get really granular day to day. And so I think I have right now, like Sam, you're very good at day to day doing what you say you're going to do. And so I think but you also are a dreamer. You carry both of those big. I think like Brad and I, we're much more dreamers than we are we struggle with consistency a little bit more. And I think like for me, that's why I love I've been obsessed with recently. I'm not going to AA, but like, what's that? Who wrote
awesome.
AA? Who wrote the book?
Oh, I can't remember the 12 steps.
I forget what's that guy's name.
12 steps are insane.
But the 12 steps. What is his name? I don't think his name's Bob. Anyways,
12 steps are legit.
But the 12 steps are insane. And the reason this came up in my life is because there's a guy in my life who's
Bill W.
Bill
come on.
W.
That's what I'm talking. Bill W.
Is it Bill White?
Is
it Bill White?
Actually was Bob.
Okay, yeah, Bob, the brother of Bill W. Wilson.
Bill Wilson.
So he's a
Okay.
real person.
So anyways, shout out to Bill. But anyways, so the point I'm trying to make is
With Bob Smith. Come on. Okay,
Those
Bill
are aliases.
Wilson and Bob Smith.
Bob
Those
Smith.
are about the most like
Generic
generic
names ever.
names that's
hey,
ever
they've
happened.
changed the world, but yeah, those are generic. The point I've been making is there's somebody in my life who is I want to be very broad is becoming closer with someone who they kind of had a falling out with due to some addiction,
Yeah.
right? And they're getting closer with this person, and they were just in vulnerability asking me what to look out for, because I've had a ton of addiction in my family, and
Sure.
a lot of them have gone through through what just happened there, falling apart.
There's a bird.
Through AA, they found sobriety, and it's amazing. And so he was just like, what should I look out for? And one of the things I realized when I was telling him is, if they say the language, I'm never going to fail again, if they use the language of like, I'm free, if they use these certain words, be very cautious, because the reality with addicts, if you talk to somebody who's legitimately sober, is one, they call themselves an addict, so they recognize they're broken. And then two, they literally, if they're like, man, you've been sober for 10 years, here's your chip. They're like, every time, if you know an addict, they'll say this: it's just one day at a time. I'm just trying to make it to the next meal. I'm just trying to make it through the next hour. Because there's an insane understanding that they are a failure, and they at any moment could fail. And so they're just trying to take it day by day. Like, I talked to my grandfather, who's been now sober for he's coming up on 30 years this year.
Yeah, it's amazing.
He did AA. You never hear him say, I'm free.
Yeah.
And he never said 30 years ago, I'm going to be sober for 30 years.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm just taking it day by day. There's the movie Perks of Being a Wallflower, which I really liked in high school because I was
never actually
a little
seen the
emo
movie.
and a
Is
little angsty. But they say this in the movie, and it stuck with me forever, that the presence is eternity. The presence is eternity. Like, that is true. Our ability to just be in the present and execute what's in front of us will get us to that big dream. And so I don't know if what I'm saying makes sense, but I think like that's the true essence of
No, I hear it.
motivation.
Yeah.
Is there's something down
Trying
the
to thread the
road,
line.
but then also being
Yeah.
here in the present and realizing I may not get to the
Yeah.
next hour, so I just need to give everything of what I have right now.
Where we might disagree. So I think where I think the disagreement at fundamentally is that I think that the majority of men can set a vision for their life, but they get intimidated to achieve it. And so what I'm trying to
Shame.
say is start tomorrow and do something.
Sure.
I think less people actually are doing stuff faithfully and can't dream for their life. So like I think that's why I kind of say it that way, is I think by getting better tomorrow, you're going to have an end, which is kind of what I said earlier. But no, I understand what you're saying. It's a tension in my life because I think there's this the Christian adage, sufficient for today is its own evil, you know? And so there's these setbacks that we have along the ride. And I think it's probably different temperaments, but my temperament can tend to like give up on the big thing because of a failure in a granular thing the next day. And so what I do is I kind of focus in on these micro habits. One of those is like I said with Nina and me, but I have a ton of those like in my own life, quarter to quarter, like how I measure a day. Yeah, so I do think it's probably both. I think one of the principles of any life well lived is know yourself too. So if you're the sort of person that has never taken the time to say, this is the man I want to be, you should do that. And if you're the type of man that says every day the man you want to be and you're less like him now than you were when you started saying that, you should probably do something different tomorrow. You know, like maybe that might thread the needle. I don't know. Do you agree with that? It's okay if we still disagree.
I think it's a both and. I think I think I wanted to say my piece there because I just didn't want to negate either what we're saying. So it's like I just don't.
Well, it's steel man it too. You don't want people to be complacent,
Exactly.
right? Like don't like do one thing tomorrow and be like, I'm good for life.
Because I think I just think, yeah, I'm not saying you're doing this. I just wanted to speak the piece that I don't want to say something beneath a man's capability or his dignity. And I know a man is capable of doing more than one thing tomorrow well. Yeah, like I think that's so fair. I think it's awesome. If this is like maybe it's like the principal virtue you're trying to work on. Hey, I'm slothful. Like I get out of bed 10 minutes before I need to be somewhere and my bed is always a mess when I leave.
Yep.
Great. Then do the bed thing. Maybe it's you look like a slob. Like seriously, maybe I know a lot of men struggle with this where it's like, you don't put product in your hair. You don't dress well.
You're not
you
presenting
don't,
yourself
you don't,
well.
Yeah, and it's like your body's a temple.
Yeah.
Like, and
or your house isn't stewarded well, and it's a freaking mess.
Whatever
all the
those
time.
things are, being able to say, okay, I am a man who has authority, and if I can't rule over my own life, then the rest of my stuff's chaos.
Yeah,
you know. So I think it's. I just want to. I think the big thing there is it is both and. So. Do something that you can tangibly do tomorrow. You're not going to go out and make $1 million tomorrow, nor do I agree with Andrew Tate that you need to.
Yeah.
But I do think like these different arenas of your life, you do have to have a vision for. You can't just be.
I like that a
aimlessly
lot.
wandering.
Yeah,
So,
I'm in agreement with that. I think there's probably if I can use the house thing, I think like set yourself a vision for what a stewardship of a house that you would want to have looks like, and then start tomorrow by organizing the drawer you've been afraid to even look at. You know, like because those are the things that actually build the clean house, if that makes sense. And like the sort of man that I want to be, it starts with those micro routines, which I agree with you. Sam does really well. I think man, it's hard to move this on, but I think it's probably good for us to move to principal objectives, just for the sake of time. And we might we can revisit this in different ways in the future for sure. Do you have final thoughts on it though? I don't want to wrap it up artificially.
No, I think I'm not making us do it like I did last time, but this is another one we can have a part 2 on. I mean, it's so rich, and we're all every man I know, like even like the dudes who are awesome and are killing it, a lot of them are like finding something to listen to while they're lifting. They're listening to my brother-in-law, who I think is like one of the most BA people I know. He listens to like freaking Remember the Titans when he lifts. You know, like we all have motivation, and I think we can get to the heart of it more than we did today. But I think it's a good foundation, a good start.
Yeah. Yep, I love it. I love it. Great. So yeah, principal objective. Just anything during the conversation today that motivated you that you want to move forward in the next week and next couple weeks and tackle?
Should you review the one from last time?
Oh, probably. Yeah, we probably should do that. Yeah, it's been a minute for those listening since we recorded.
So mine was to really take to seriousness like the journal that I have, and to do a daily self-reflection, and to utilize that tool of being able to look back on my day. Truthfully, I haven't done it a lot. So taking a dose of my own medicine here, this is something that I wanted to do that I didn't do perfectly, but the times that I did do it were super beneficial to
fruitful.
Yeah. So I think it's something that isn't perfect, but I think progress over perfection always. And so just taking small steps to implement that. And it's something that I want to continue to do. So happy with the fruit that came from the few times I did do it.
Yeah. Mine was morning rhythm and just like staying true to it, getting the things in that I want to get in a day. And, I would say mixed, similar to kind of what you're saying, Sam. Like you mentioned earlier, like not falling into all or nothing all the time. And like I have a pretty like idealistic form of what my morning would take, like how I would wake up, the things that I would do, and I still want to hold that, kind of like what you were talking about. And I've been able to hit certain parts, certain days. Certain parts have fallen away on other days. Some of that's been my own stuff, staying up too late. Some of that's been Eliza getting up early. Some of that's been me having work to do early in the morning, and I do think I want to keep kind of like going back to that, because a balanced life, that's the wrong way. A rhythmic life for me would include that kind of morning.
Yeah, mine was doing kind of my internal process, and I did the week after we recorded. I did it for every day, and then I started having like some funky health stuff, and then fell off. And so I actually haven't done it since then, and I need to get back on the train and do it, because it's effective when I do it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's good. Yeah. It's also fun, I think, before we jump in for today, I think principal objectives also been sweet for me, because it begins framing my priorities. That like, it's been cool to kind of like see, like, actually when I attach this to something I'm already doing, it gives me additional accountability. So I'm glad that we're checking in on it. Good call there, Sam. I think today I can mention something for today. I think a principal objective for me over the next couple weeks, or until we come out with the next episode, I think, I really want to live in the tension you're kind of talking about, Sam. Like I want to move towards having endpoints for me in different areas of my life, arenas of my life, like, and really name them and claim them, so that I can see how those little micro routines I'm developing actually move me towards those things. So I think I've gotten pretty good at having a vague kind of goal at the end of like the guy I want to be, and I could probably give a decent, I don't know, soliloquy on like what that would be. But when it comes to like specific, like that's how I want that to look. That's how I want that to look. I think that can help me actually be more encouraged by those little things that I'm getting wins in every day. And so I want to commit over the next couple of weeks, just as I'm sitting down doing the things that I'm already doing. Yeah. Beginning to specify vision for endpoints for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think in the midst of all this, I just kept looking at the sign over there of no guts, no glory. And I think there's just something to the fact that like man is not made to be motivated through his mind, but be motivated through his gut. And I think that there's something that we've all seen movies like Braveheart or Gladiator, or hear stories of things that are inspiring. And I think all too often I let my head control how I want to live instead of my gut. And so I just want to, it's not very practical. It's more kind of like ethereal, but I want to lean into those moments where I feel like I'm letting my mind control the direction of a choice, as opposed to just living with my gut and being ballsy.
Yep, love it.
Yeah, I was actually really challenged during this this time of us hanging out, because I think this idea of self-contribution is something that I think I'm doing, but if I really check myself, I don't know if I am. And so, like, I'm going after wealth, youth, and influence, right? I'm going after youth through making sure I'm working out, eating well, taking things that are going to help my body be healthier, right? Anti-inflammatories, food, all those things. I'm doing that well. And I do think I'm doing that for the most part to give of myself. I also think I want to stay alive, right? Like, that's something, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think influence, I feel pretty self-gift in that area in my life. Wealth, though, I as you're talking, I'm like, I think part of me is selfish in this area. I think part of me desires to have wealth, to have wealth, like to be rich, to do whatever I want, and to have control, honestly, in a lot of ways, control over what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. And so I think for me, I want to take a time, like a time of reflection this week to really ask what I would give my money to if I had the money I wanted, how I would use that money, and actually go through an exercise there and say, how would I use that money? And if I broke it down, if I had $100 million, what would I do with that $100 million? And I think that would open my eyes a little bit and help me. If my focus is that, I'm not gonna take the wrong means to justify the end, right? I'm gonna invest in the right way of doing things, because I want to do it in the right way when I have it, right?
Yep. And I think all those are good. I also want to suggest too, if you're listening and you're like in a pre-permanent state of life situation, I do want to iterate to you what I said to those guys on the retreat like a month ago or whatever, is like, if you're pursuing a life where you just have a hot wife, a high paying job, and you can do your hobbies as often as you want, like, challenge that this next week or two. Like, really, like, think through, like, what are your actual principal objectives in life, and see if attaining those would actually make you the sort of man that someone should look up to. I think as you're kind of zeroing in on Andrew Tate in this conversation, that's just worth doing. When I spoke that, I just started thinking, like, man, I think almost all young adult men fall into this. They think that those three things, if I do that, everything else is easy. And just maybe worth challenging you with. It definitely challenged me to give it, and I think the guys there benefited from it. So if it benefits you, that's sweet. Also, if this podcast benefited you, send it to a guy who you think also might grow from it, and obviously drop some comments if you have disagreements with us. Hopefully we're able to model disagreement here too. So continue to join us. Subscribe so you can see when we drop new episodes, and we're going to try to get more regular on this thing. So we'll see you guys next time. Thanks.